Welcome, everybody, to our Tactical Tuesday for October the 19th. A really, really important and cool topic we're going to talk about tonight. We are going to be interviewing somebody that actually invested with us and hearing a lot of tips that if you are a working partner, if you are looking to raise capital, are going to be awesome for you. You need to know this stuff.
So for those of you that don't fully know our story, so we started out as working partners. So we didn't have the money that we needed to be able to buy all the properties that we wanted to. So we started out by joint venturing and finding people that would, invest in us and invest with us in a property. A few years down the road, we ended up meeting John. So John became a money partner of ours a little bit later on. And funny how things go, because now how the tables have turned, and now we also invest with John. So it's funny how things go. But, a lot of people kind of ask, hey, what does a money partner want? And we give you all the goods and the answers, but you guys don't believe us because it's so freaking simple. And so here it is from the mouth of a money partner himself. Yes, and he's going to tell us what makes a guy like him say yes, what makes him say no. And he's a really detail-oriented person. We got like a 15-page book from him earlier before tonight's thing, just outlining all the things that he can talk about because he's that detail-oriented. So for you guys you're going to love this session.
And you know what, guys? If you're one of the people that are listening to us right now that also has money that you want to invest with somebody, and you're wondering what things should you look for, well, you're going to learn those things as well. So if you're on the working partner side, there's a lot of tips you're going to get tonight. If you're on the money partner side, there's a lot of tips you're going to get tonight. And so there's good information no matter what side of that equation that you're on. So thanks again, guys. And just before we get going, thank you for saying hello as you come on, letting us know where you're from.
I'm just going to answer Ryan's
I see
question.
A lot of excitement within the chat. And this is an exciting week because boot camp is coming up on Friday as well. Ryan, we are actually, believe it or not, in downtown Moncton, New Brunswick. We're not far from you.
How we ended up here again.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I golfed today at Royal Oaks, if you ever golfed there.
There we
lots
go.
of fun.
And yes, you do recognize the darkness outside the windows. And Chris Whitby heading that way too, all the way Edmonton, BC. Hello, Marie.
Yes, I do need some batteries for my Razor. You're right. I asked Tiff just before we got on. I said, should I shave?
I said to him, so are you going on like that in your golf
Are you going in your
and
golf shirt and you unshaven? I'm like, well, yeah, why not?
Yeah. Anyways, okay, guys. So let's bring John on because we've got a lot to cover.
Yes, we do.
We have a ton to cover tonight. And if you guys have questions, throw them in the chat.
Yes.
Because John.
As we go through this information, guys, you're going to have questions pop in your head. Do not feel ashamed to ask them. No matter what your question is, there's no such thing as a dumb question. Other people are wondering as well. So please be brave enough to ask it. Throw it in the chat and we'll ask John. We'll get his opinion on the answer to these questions.
We've got Melanie, we've got Brian, we've got Marie. There'll be questions. These are our question askers.
Okay, so let's bring on John. John Heaney, welcome to our Fearless Show.
Thank you so much. It's just a really great delight to be here today. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
And first time we've had you on here, which is actually kind of crazy. We've been talking about it for how long?
Yeah, a long time. So it's great.
Here we go. Well, this is the right time. Let's put it that way. This is the right time for you to be coming on. We got lots to get through. So John, let's start off telling a little bit about yourself and why don't you tell us a little bit about why you got into real estate investment in the first place, a little bit about your journey.
Sure. So let me just first of all say thank you so much to you two for having me. And I have the world of love and appreciation and respect for you guys and for your part of my journey. So thank you very much for that. I wanted to start with that. So way back when I was a former dairy farmer out of Ingersoll, Ontario, and we kind of got to the idea that we didn't want to be in dairying anymore. There were a lot of problems that we faced as a family working in the dairy industry. And we decided to make an exit in 2010. So I had some great mentors and decided that real estate was the way to go. Did some massive studying. Had about a 3-year delay on our sale of our dairy farm here. So I needed to make sure that I had something in place. Just did a whack of studying, started out doing a bunch of joint ventures, and really worked hard at that. And then when 2014 came along, the sale came, we had our business almost as big as the dairy before we left. So I had done a lot of great work with joint ventures, and you two were a part of that. I remember you coaching me along and working through that. It was good time. So in 2014, we kind of did some more work up to about 2015, 16. Then we moved, did some building. I took a couple of years off just to settle my family. And then 2018, 19, we started to pick it up again. I got thinking about legacy and my kids, and I have four kids, 3 20-year-olds, 23, 22, and 20. And then Jakey's is 16. So they were coming on, all in business school, loving what we're doing in the real estate world. Wanted to figure out a cash flow business. We started Glenroe Lending. The second business that we had, our first one's called Tranquility Enterprises, which is the real estate holding, and a lending business, and got going with that, working with some professional real estate investors who do a lot of flipping houses in different areas of Canada. That went amazingly well, and it's just amazing business today. And then probably the most important thing that I like the most is dealing with youth. So we have an investor on fire, a bunch of young investors. We started the first tranche, had 21 of those kids come on, all 19 to 27 years old. We just added another tranche again, and we're up to 44 kids now. So teaching young adults how to raise capital and to buy their first property of their own with no money down, and using joint ventures and other things. So we're busy. We're looking to put together the Glenroe Foundation. I love the idea of lending, real estate, and giving. And so we're going to form that here in the next year when my second daughter, Josie, comes home. So that's kind of where we're at. It's a busy life right now, but it's so awesome. I just love what I'm doing.
And it's interesting because when I said, like, so, how do we introduce you? Because there's so much, right? How do we even introduce you? And at the end of it, we came up with, and I love this, you're passionate about teaching financial education to create passive income for people that you deeply care about. And it was perfectly said, because that's exactly what you do. You're so passionate, and kids, not just your kids, but it's ended up becoming your kids, the friends of your kids that you've now started mentoring into this group and paying them a return and showing them how they can earn this passive income. So pretty amazing. So you're now basically a private lender on a large scale. Yes. You teach other kids or kids how to do that. Now, before you got to that, you were joint venturing.
Yes.
You were the working partner.
Correct.
Tell us about where you lived and where you invested as the working partner.
Yeah, so I lived in Ingersoll, and it's kind of started with RAIN, the Real Estate Investment Network, and so many of the people that we talk to, we owe a lot to Don Campbell and the crew there at RAIN, and he was wonderful. But I had started in Ontario. We got a bunch going in Ontario, but I got to RAIN, and you two, again, I just say a lot about you guys, but you two were influential in getting me to Edmonton. And it kind of evolved to about 45 properties between Ontario through joint ventures and projects of our own. We had some in London, Hamilton, Kitchener, Toronto, and then half of our properties were in Edmonton at that point. And then we kind of got into the place where we made the mistake, and I'll say this quickly, the mistake of investing in too many cities. So I had 6 cities that I was dealing with. I was dealing with 6 realtors, 6 property managers, six of, that's a bad number. I guess I shouldn't say that number, but I had too many things going on. So we made a conscious decision to get out of Ontario. And now we're primarily, I think probably 80%, 85% of our stuff is in Edmonton greater area, Leduc, Stony Plain, Spruce Grove, and the greater Edmonton area. Yeah.
And I mean, you timed that almost perfectly too. When you got out of the Toronto market, it was a beautiful time to do that. So it's not like you did it as a sale.
And you know what? That's a really good point that we don't have time tonight to really spend much time on. But, a lot of people who want to be a working partner may live in areas that, it doesn't make sense to be buying properties. The properties don't cash flow. And so they say, well, I can't do it. But your experience being a working partner, but yet you invested and bought with other people in another province across the entire country as a working partner. That's a
Right.
whole other topic that we could spend a whole Tactical Tuesday delving into.
But I guess,
but congrats on being able to
and
do
if
that.
we can ask you, does it work, John? Did people invest with you? You didn't live in the place.
You know, I've learned in the process of all of this that investing in the outside of town, away from you, where you can't drive by, look by at properties, and you rely on your team of people. I have an awesome property management in Edmonton, and they do a phenomenal job for me. But the beauty of all that is I call those the $100 an hour jobs. It forces me to move away from that, delegate it all out, and I can focus on the $1,000 an hour jobs that I want to do, which is growing the business, building legacy, raising capital. I have a list of 14 high-level activities that I really like to focus on. Those are my things. But having all that stuff away from me lets me hone in on the important stuff to grow the business.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that is gold right there. We would wish we could talk about that for longer, but
that leads us into why we're here tonight. And tonight we're going to have you back again, John. But tonight we're going to talk about, as a money partner, or as somebody that lends money to somebody else that has a project, or somebody else that's going to buy a property. Let's talk a little bit about what you look for in that person. Is it what matters? Is it the person? Is it the property? Is it the deal? What is it that you're focusing on when we're talking this from a general point of view?
Right. A great question and a terrific topic. I'm excited to share this, but if you're new out there, and if you're just getting into real estate and you're young out there, this is probably one of the most important topics that you'll ever begin to study. And I suggest it's the place you start, because you have to figure out what it is people want in you in order to invest with you. So you might as well study what you're looking for and what they're looking in you particularly for too. So to me, I love Stefan Arnio's stuff, and he has a book called Money, People, Deal. There's 3 parts to every deal: the money, the partner, and the deal. So the money is you. You're the capital partner. The people is the working partner, and the deal is all about the working partner. So to me, if I were to give a weighting on that, guys, I'd probably put about an 80% weighting on the people and 20% weighting on the deal. Okay. And I think, go ahead, Tiff.
Just to be really clear on that, because like you said, if you're new to investing, this is hard for people to quite get. So you're saying, as a money partner, as a private lender now, you're saying you're going to put 80% of your decision making into who that person is versus the deal that they're offering you.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people get that backwards, because every time you talk about, this deal or this suited house or this multifamily or this condo, you talk about the deal so much that they forget to talk as much as they should be talking about the person behind it. And I over my history and my time, I think even 85, even 90% is people and 10% is deal, right? So, you can't have, if you don't have money, people, and deal, you don't have anything, right? So it's important. And 2 of the 3 things that we're looking for in people and deal are with the working partner. So we really have to do a good job of analyzing that and making sure we're confident. So it boils down my decision and everything that I do in my business, with my lending business, with my kids that I coach. It's all about trust and confidence. It boils down to trust and confidence. So it comes down to the people, and do I have trust and confidence in them? And the deal, do I have trust and confidence in the deal? I think that's a good way to kind of break it down. So that's that'll get us started. The other thing I wanted to bring up too is that, and this is something that I use in my lending business a lot too, and people that want to invest with us, they want something that's highly controlled. They want something that has low risk and has a great, I will call, measurable return. Those 3 things: highly controlled, low risk, and very measurable, a great measurable return. So that's kind of the other thing that I'm thinking about, the capital partner and the deal side of it too, that's important to mention. So we can break that down from there. Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. So, and let's just take one step back, because we've got a question that came in for you. So Marie says, you say you put 80% on the people. What do you do to get to know the people that you're considering investing in? So how do you measure that?
Yeah, a great question. Thanks, Marie, for that. One of the things that I've learned in my journey, I've had a terrific mentor, and a mentor that is smarter than I am. He has a bigger net worth than I do. He's a terrific person. And the thing that he's taught me the most is reputation. So I think that the importance of getting your reputation and protecting it, it takes you 25, 30, 40 years to get a great reputation, and it takes 2 seconds to destroy it. So a lot of the stuff, if you're thinking of dealing with somebody, I think there's a lot of time that needs to be spent on social media to talk to other people, to understand what reputation the guy has or the girl has or whoever has that you're going to deal with. Focus on that. So the time is spent on that person, figuring out what their reputation is. And it's easy to do on social media now. It's easy to do just watching them. I spend a lot of time on social media, and I really enjoy that. My kids actually do it for me now, but I spend a ton of time, and this is what I really love about financial education, right? I use financial education as a real tool to get to the investment. So I'm more interested in investing my time, efforts, and money on educating people to build trust and confidence that they'll then do a deal with us. And I think that order is really, really important. So that's kind of the things that I look for in the working partner is what do they have for reputation, and what are they actually promoting? What do they believe? Figuring out their values. I think the other thing that really comes to mind, and it's the servanthood attitude, right? And is it about them or is it about you? I get up every morning, and people who know me well know me that this is my heart. And I get up every morning and ask myself the question, how many people can I serve today? Okay. And that's such a great mindset, and being able to go out there and ask, how can I serve people today? And it's amazing when you have that mindset, how you're blessed in return. And stuff like that we're talking about today comes easy to me, or easy to people who have that mindset, because they have that focus of wanting to help other people first. And they mean it. They just don't say it, they mean it, right? So I think that's maybe the answer to Marie's question.
It's pretty interesting too, John, because I think we told you this before, but Corey remembers when you were his client, and you said to him at the end of, spending maybe a day together or something, you said, so tell me, how do I become your best client?
That is so funny. That is so funny, Corey, because I had that on my notes. I was going to bring that up tonight. I said, I remember that clearly, and it took you back a bit, didn't it? Yeah. It took you back a little bit and say, that's a really good question. I remember you saying, I've never, ever been asked that before, but that's what it's all about. And I think that's what we have such a great connection we have for all these years, is because you had it for me and I had it for you and for Tiffany, right? We shared that, and it's a mutual thing in both the working partner and in the money partner, that they have to have that servanthood attitude.
And it's so obvious. It's so obvious when you're dealing with somebody that is in it for themselves and themselves only. Yeah. You can get that vibe, that gut feel right off the bat. If somebody is just looking out for their own interests, you just don't get that good feeling. And if you have somebody that's looking out for the interest of others, what a different feeling. You just know that's somebody that you can trust with your money. That's somebody that you can trust with your time. And it just makes the relationship 100 million times better. So
and I want to add one thing too. Is one thing I've really noticed lately is that that reputation piece. We've always said that it's so important, but one thing I think is important is that it's a reputation. Ask the people who've been around a long time, because sometimes the new up and comers are like, oh wow, they're awed by the outward appearance. But really, there's a whole lot more to the story sometimes. So, that reputation, people think themselves, and it's the people who've been around in those circles for quite a while will actually know that. So,
So let's dive in a little bit then. Unless I'm cutting you off on saying something, John, let's dive in on.
I just got one little thing to add to that last tag there. And I think it's important when we're looking at, we have the money and you're the capital partner looking to get us. Your reputation, it goes from here to here when you're dealing with somebody else's money. This is no longer your money, it's somebody else's, and your reputation is so much more important when you're raising capital and using other people's money. That was just a little thought on the side.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, good. So we're talking about reputation. We're talking about people. And for those of you that are listening, and it's when we first got into the business, and you mentioned this earlier, John, it was all about the deal. It was all about ROIs. It was all about cash flows. It was all about spreadsheets. And we're like, well, we got such a good deal. Anyone will invest with us.
Yeah.
It's not about the deal. We're talking 100% so far about the people and reputation and that sort of thing. So when it comes to the people and it comes to building that trust and confidence in somebody, what are some of the questions you ask yourself? What are some of the questions that you ask those particular people that you might end up investing money with?
Yeah, so we got a whole list of these here. We'll just kind of pick them through because I think every one of them is worth the chat, right? And at least talk. Some of them are similar, but I think the first question, the one that came into my mind right off the bat, is if I like the person.
Yeah.
You know, do I like this guy? And there's a lot of people that I said no to when I was a working capital partner, or when I was the working capital partner. They wanted to do business with me, and I just didn't see myself working with them. I didn't like them. I didn't say I try not to like no one, right? I like everybody. I try to do that, but I think in 2 or 3 sentences you can figure out whether or not that's the kind of person I want to deal with. You know, this is a people studying business when we start working with joint ventures, and you can pick them out real quick. It's practice, but it's experience, and you get together. Do I have a good gut feeling about that person right off the bat, right? So I think it's a stupid, simple question, but it's true. Do I like this person? And if I like that person, chances are I'm going to do really, really well with them, right? That's the first one. The second one I had was, can I learn from this person? You know, so I talk a lot about financial education. I'll tell you right off the bat, I love Robert Kiyosaki. I love Rich Dad Poor Dad. And it's all about financial education in their programs. And that to me is much, much more important than anything else that you can ever touch and study. Is just the financial education piece. But I want to be always learning. I want to be the dumbest person in the room, but I want this person to challenge me. So I'm looking for that. Do they have the experience? Can I learn from them? Are their strengths my weaknesses? So, you know, I had this on our sheets here. It's like a marriage. We're talking marriage counseling, baby. That's what we're talking, right? It really is. You know, we're looking at each other, we're feeling each other out and seeing if we connect. But I want to make sure that I'm not partnering. Like Corey and I probably wouldn't be very good working partners together because we're the same lot, right? But I'm really looking for somebody who has the differences in me. So do they have the expertise to bring to that are different than I have? So their strengths, my weaknesses. Do they complement you? Same type of thing. So
does that mean that if I'm not an analytic person and I'm not a numbers person and I'm not detail oriented?
Yeah.
But you are?
Yeah.
Does that mean that your analytical brain is going to look at me and say, I can't partner with her because she's not a numbers person? Or does that mean we're going to do the opposite and go, wait, I'm the numbers person in this. She doesn't need to be.
Yeah. It's just that. Not that it's a downside to who you are. It's who you are. I accept you for who you are. But at the same time, I don't want to have somebody that comes in and say, well, that pro forma number, you don't have it right on your expenses, or that's going to be way too much, or I actually went back home and did your mortgage calculations and I got another $10 a month out of that. You're not right. Well, forget it, man. That's my game. I'm going to present myself as the expert. And if you're going to try to tell us how to do something better than what we think we can do as the working capital, I don't want a working capital partner. I want a money partner. If I'm a money partner, I want a working capital partner, not another money partner. So there's where the opposites attract. The working partner and the capital partner are really opposites. They really are. And that sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But for the most part, the opposites attract rule really does apply here for sure. Yeah.
I love it. And again, from the mouth of a money partner, because we can sing this stuff till we're blue in the face, John, I tell you, and people will still go, but are you sure? And here he is, guys, from the mouth of a money partner, he's saying, first off, I hope you heard that he's saying it's not the deal, it's you and what you bring to the table. And secondly, you don't have to have the same skills that I do. In fact, I hope you don't.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's great stuff. Thanks, John.
Yeah. I think the next one is equally important. Again, we're talking marriage here. How do you feel they will solve conflicts with you, right? So there's going to be some trial times. There's going to be some unexpected things. Your performers aren't going to be always perfect. There's going to be stuff happen. that you have no control about. And how is that partner going to deal with you? Are they going to be critical of that? Are they going to be giving you a hard time about that? Are you going to feel guilty about that? You know, I got to make sure that I can resolve conflict with them very carefully. That's important.
Absolutely.
Because nothing runs perfectly. We're always going to have issues one way or the other. So yeah, how is that going to be dealt with? Very, very important.
Yeah. Okay. I guess when it comes to the next thing is the experience that these people have. So I love to ask the question as a money partner, well, how much experience they have in the actual proposal or the type of deal, not the deal, but the type of deal. And here's where I think a lot of people, they think, oh, this is a great guy, but you know, he's got maybe 15 or 20 suited houses. Let's use as an example. When he comes to you as a partner, I want to do a 40 unit apartment building. I'm thinking, you know, probably not. I might be more interested in the experience because you have experience in a niche, right? That's one of the lessons that I learned again. You know, I got all over the place. I had condos, I had multifamilies, I had suited houses, I had singles, you know, I had a farm, had all these different things going on. But then I've really kind of honed it down now to suited houses is my niche. I love suited houses. I keep the single families. I love those in Edmonton too. But suited houses are the sweet spot. So I don't think people would look at me as a working partner if I had all kinds of different projects on the go. I have all kinds of different things, but I'm a master of none of them, right? So you focus in on that, and I want to look at your experience and how many deals have you done is maybe okay, but I want to know first and foremost, and I think this is where I had to kind of figure it out on my own too. How many deals have you done on your own? You haven't got any credibility until you actually do something. One, for sure, one solid good deal. You have to have some type of a credibility to work off of, and that's often the most difficult one. But there are ways. You get yourself a good mentor and a coach to figure out how to do that. There are ways to get that one going, and you build off of that and stay the same. The consistency of that all the time is really good. So, yeah.
And I love the fact that you say, like, you have to get something under your belt. And you know, we have one client that they worked for free in property management for 3
Right.
years.
Yeah.
Just to get that experience under their belts, because they didn't know any other way to get experience. And then when they actually started to, you know, learn about joint venturing, they were like, wait a second, you know, she's like, I don't have anything. I've never bought a property, but like, okay, but wait, how many tenants how many properties have you run? Do you know how much value that brings? So, but yeah, you got to get some skin in the game in some way, time, effort, money, whatever it is.
Right. I just get the consistency of that too, and just making sure that there's some consistency in what we're doing and in every different aspect of who they are and what they're dealing with. I think the consistency is a good word to remember with that. The next one I kind of look at is the reputation that they have within the real estate community. And I think all of us that are on this call, we realize how small this is. I probably would look at the names on Fearless, the participants here. I probably know half of you or know of half of you, right? But I think that's something that, you know, I think I've worked hard at, and you guys have done a fantastic job of it too. How well are you known with your peers and people that are trying to do the same thing? And, you know, Marie's question again, you know, looking at the person, you maybe go and you talk, and there's been many times that I think I can remember over our 10 or 12 years that we've worked together. Hey, Corey, hey, Tiffany, what do you think about this person? Is this somebody that I really want to deal with? And, you know, there's some people that I've dealt with that I probably shouldn't have, that I should have listened to my real estate community a little bit better. And I made that mistake, and I'll never make that mistake again. So don't ever think that you're not being watched, right? And I like the idea of being watched on social media. Be careful what you post. Be careful what you write. Be careful how you comment. Be careful how you treat other people. You know, in the education piece of it too, I love the idea of just posting what's on my mind. And with this group of kids that I'm working with, these 44, there isn't a day that goes by now that I don't post something that they can think about, right? And it's a challenge. It might not be real estate. Today I gave them a little quote on being really grateful and how gratefulness is very contagious. Maybe nothing to do with real estate, but if they share that, what they're learning is that they're building trust and confidence in planting seeds with potential joint venture partners and potential money capitals, because they're learning to build confidence and trust in the character of who they are. And this happens years before you get to your first deal. Years before you get to your first deal. So remember that as you're preparing and you're wanting to get into this, you're already planted a whack of seeds, and people are watching you more than ever, especially with social media.
Yeah, it's a whole new era. It's a whole new, this has never happened in human history where you can be watched like you can be watched today, where people see the things you do, the things you say, the comments you make, and it's seen by, not just a few people, but by everybody within your social group. So you have to be really, really careful. So that's awesome advice, John.
It's interesting too, I think back to when we first started out, and I remember, so the first little while, we weren't doing anything. We were just learning. We were in rain and just learning. But sometimes Donna Sylvester, the event planner, things would come up and she'd need a hand with something. So I would, jump in and I'd be helping her or whatever. And next thing people start, when we did start actually, going looking for joint venture funds, people are like, oh, so, how do you know them? You work with them? I'm like, oh, no, I don't know them. I just, people were watching, and like I would stand and hold the doors for people to come in or help them find a seat. If there was no seat, the thing had started already. Well, they all of a sudden thought I was with Rain, and I'm like, no, I'm not. But like you said, that happened long before I was looking for anything, but people were watching and I had no idea. So awesome advice, John. We want to get more of it. Lots of people are loving stuff. So what else do you got?
Yeah, the comments, just so you know, John, everybody's loving this advice. Really good point so far.
Thank you.
And this is stuff that, is just, it's not said everywhere. It's not, it's more about the numbers in most places, but this is the important stuff that people need to understand. It's about relationships. It's about reputation, as you've been talking about. These are the things that can make someone either successful or not, period. End of story. And so the advice you're given is fantastic. And, one of the questions I noticed here, and I definitely don't want to skip it, is will they tell you about the bad deals that have happened? So let's talk about that.
Absolutely. I have that on my list to talk about. So we'll deal with that right away. I'll kind of tie that into references, right? So as the two things are, and I'll ask that question. What's your worst case scenario? What, as a money partner looking at the work, what's the worst thing that's happened to you and how did you mitigate that? And I want a good, solid, confidence building answer to that, right? So that's a really important thing. But if they squirm and if they don't really want to tell you, or they'll maybe say a couple sentences, you can kind of tell that, oh, there's something in the back corner here. We better not leave that and bring that out. That's a big flag for me, huge flag for me. And I think references come into that as well. And I'll ask people, do you have references, or maybe there's people that we could talk to? And if he can come up with, this guy would love to talk about this, and I'll ask, okay, well, what's the more experienced ones? Maybe is another one. People who've been dealing with you longer. People tend to want to give you your best references. I want to hear about your work, maybe your not so good references, and maybe something that can share something with me that will give me a better, more honest, and overall complete idea of who you are. So that's those two things, absolutely. The worst case scenarios and references.
We just actually asked someone for references, or I did, and they said, oh, I have lots, but no one that I'm comfortable asking for, to talk to you. Yeah. And I thought, man, how well do you know them then? I mean, if you've been working with them for how long? I mean, John, we do business together, but we consider you a friend. We consider you, we care about you. We're friends.
Absolutely.
There's a point where at some point there should be some sort of personal connection in there.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
John, can you give me a reference? It would be really important to me if you could do this for me. But if someone can't ask that of their business partnerships, you gotta wonder why.
One of the things that I've come up with our Glenroe lending business and what we're doing with that, the catchphrase for that is that we build legacy to create tranquility for people that we deeply care about. And that little sentence on the end does more than anything else for me, because I love dealing with people that I love and I really, really care about, because I want to help those people the most, right? Seriously. And my wife is a little bit different on that. And John, what are you going to do to all these friends if something ever goes wrong? I get that, and that's a real it's a fear, and sometimes fears can be defined as the false evidence appearing real. The decision for that is not to worry, hon. It's okay. You know what I mean? And that's the remedy for fear in my mind. But it's not to say that deeply care. And again, it goes back to servanthood stuff, right? So I love that tag on there because it brings the emotion to it, and it brings the sincerity to build trust and confidence in that person.
Yeah. And John, we talk about this in our boot camp. We talk about creating what we call your one-line moneymaker. Yeah. And that's really what you just said. It is what your mission is in one simple sentence.
Right.
You're defining what you create and who you help. And that's guys, what we are going to be creating for everybody that's going to be joining our boot camp that starts on Friday. And so I love the example, John. The comments here. I
just have to show you some of these, John.
The comments, everybody's just loving. This is great stuff. Great info. Just awesome. Everyone's loving the advice you're giving so far, John. So thank you.
That's great. So do you want to keep moving on? I'll give you my next one. I think is a really good one to talk about as well. And this is Edmonton now, and probably more or not necessarily Edmonton, but my experience is in Edmonton, is the team of people that surround you. What type of people are around you to support your deal? Again, I'm the money partner looking at the working partner. So I want to know, do you have a mentor? Do you have a coach? What's your property management like? What kind of lawyers do you deal with? What kind of mortgage brokers? Tell me about your Rolodex of trades, right? And if they're established, again, they can be references as well, because I'm going to go talk to your property manager and see how that's going. And how do you get along with that person? Is it going well? Is he your favorite client, right? What is it that he has to do to be your favorite client again? Okay, Corey? That's what it's all about. So the team of people, you're only as good as the people that are around you. So find out who their team is, and you can get a pretty darn good idea whether you can build trust and confidence in that person. Another great way to go about analyzing a working partner, for sure.
So important. The team that you surround yourself with is vital, and especially for someone like yourself, John. And let's just harken back to what we said earlier, where you live in Ingersoll, Ontario, and we're investing in Edmonton, Alberta, across the country. You're not driving there to manage your property or to look at the renovations or to look at what the tradespeople are doing. And so you needed to have a great team, boots on the ground, which you were able to create. And that's what made you successful as a working partner buying all of those properties.
Yeah. Corey, I remember back in the day that we probably spent more time with each other. I came to Edmonton in the early days to be with you guys and just to work with you. I don't remember, golly, how many properties did we actually go in that we bought? I don't think there's some properties to this day that are 12 years that I've never been in. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. They're the venue of the product of the person that brought me that, the team that I have around me. I had trust and I had confidence in these relationships with my property managers and with you guys when you were realtors. I didn't need to see houses because I knew Corey knew what I wanted. We had cookie cutter projects. They were all boring, simple, single family projects at that point. And we just bought one after the other. It was an awesome experience. Hey, Corey, got another joint venture. Can you get me 2 more properties, right? And away we go. Hung up the phone, it was over.
Absolutely.
And interestingly, too, when I'm thinking about all this, where did you stay when you came to Edmonton sometimes?
Well, at my property manager's house, and we stayed with you guys. And, again, these are like you said, Tiffany, we're buddies. We're friends, right? These are people like family to me. They've gotten to be so good, right? So, again, it's that team is really, really important. You're only as good as the people around you, for sure.
Yeah. Great point.
Only as good as the people around you. I love it.
So the next thing that I kind of like, and I've learned to really, really dive into this, is a great question is where are you being educated? Who are you following? Who are your mentors? Who are your teachers? What courses are you taking and stuff like that? I find, again, I go back to my other point. Can I learn from them? I want to know what they're studying. And if they tell me, well, I'm studying and, I'm working on analyzing properties, and no. You got to figure out financial education first. Talk to me about how you feel about passive income. What do you know about passive income? I have an awesome slide on the golden goose. I love talking about my golden gooses, the goose that lays golden eggs over and over and over again for passive income. These properties that we buy are golden gooses. So if I hear the word golden goose coming out of them, I know they're on my right page, right? So, but that's an important thing too, because you're influenced by the people. This is somebody you're going to have a relationship with. You're going to get close to them. You're going to resolve. You're married to them, for crying out loud. You're going to have this relationship. They're going to become part of who you are and who your business becomes. So I want to know where you're going rather than where you are. I want to know where you're going, and that's financial education. Yeah. So that's another great thing too. Yeah.
And it is interesting how there's a culture around certain following.
Yeah.
You can tell how people are going to do business often based on what mentorship program they are in and taking.
For sure. Yeah.
And so if you know the people and you know how they're going to relate, that can be a really telling thing. So I really like that question. And I never have thought to ask it myself, but I like it a lot.
Yeah. I think it goes back to, if they're involved with you guys and Stefan's programs and Rain and, some of these really well-reputed companies that are out there that you can learn, that they're going in the right direction. You're learning what you've learned, and that they're making an effort to do that. It's just not, well, I have a couple properties and I do this kind of on the side. There's no credential to that, right? So if they're moving ahead and studying, it's a really great deal. Yeah,
absolutely. And there's nothing worse than somebody who thinks they know it all. Yeah. And there's nothing worse than somebody who just thinks they can do it all by themselves. And we all need education. John, you talked about it recently, how you're still taking education. You're extremely successful in so many different ways, and you're educating yourselves. Tiff and I are still part of mentorship programs. We're taking education as well. It's so important.
You have to.
Yeah. You have to. You can't stop.
I can't help but talk a little bit about the importance of routine, and this is a really good point, and I bring this to my kids all the time. The importance of the quiet times in the morning. Really successful entrepreneurs are focused on in the morning. They get up and they have a scheduled routine. For me, it's like I have a relationship with Jesus, and I'm not going to deny that, or I'm very proud of that, and it's a big part of who I am. But every morning I'll get up and I'll read Alpha. And Alpha is a kind of a Bible in the year type of app that you can read some New Testament, Old Testament, Psalms, Proverbs, etc. And there's commentary. So I'll spend 25 minutes reading those portions. Amazing input into my mind. And then my next half hour to 3/4 of an hour, I'll read books, right? And I'll read books. And for me, reading books, this is one of the biggest, most important points I want to leave with you tonight. When I read a book, I hate reading. First of all, I hated it. I failed grade 13 English. I was horrible at it. But if you get into something that you enjoy reading, it becomes easier. But when I read a book, I have a highlighter in my hand, and I have a book, and ideally I'll have Audible reading it to me, and I'll go through that because, again, I'm a slow learner when it comes to reading stuff. But then I'll stop, and I'll take my phone, and I use notes in my iPhone, and I highlight what I have in my book, and I put that into notes. So I have, I think, about 1,500 notes on real estate investing now that's in my library. And there's where my books end up, right? You go and you read your book and you highlight it and it goes on the shelf. But I love this because I was waiting for Jakey today to finish his volleyball practice. And guess what I was doing? I was scrolling through my notes to think of maybe, there's a couple things I'd like to talk about tonight. I've got it in my back pocket. It's with me wherever I go. So I love to put, spiritual stuff in there, and I love to put the real estate stuff because they really tie really closely together for me. They really do. That's who I am. Okay, so that's a great, great tip. Read a book, highlight it, and record the highlighted portion of what you've done in the book into notes. And not your computer, not a notebook. They get on the shelf, they're gone, but in your phone, and they're with you all the time. It's a wonderful reference to have in your pocket.
Love it.
So awesome. I need to say that.
Awesome piece of advice. Yeah.
Okay, so let me just move on to a couple more, and we'll be done with this and get to the deal for a sec. Okay. Can I be free to ask, back to the working partner questions? Can I be free to ask the question of, can you help me understand? I call them, can you help me understand questions? Okay. Rather than being abrasive with dealing with these people, I like that soft approach of doing that. So I'll ask that question to that. Can you help me understand what you're doing with that? Why would you want to invest in that property? And that opens up the door to allow them to feel very, very comfortable to answer that question. Rather than, why do you do that? I don't understand why you do that. Can you help me understand? Maybe it's a lot of tone of voice too and how you deliver what you say. But at the same time, I love that soft, but how do they answer a question of how to help me understand? If they're very appreciative of it and very willing to answer it, I know that's that resolving conflict, right? Can you help me understand why do we need to have another $30,000 into this investment, right? And if I say, oh man, can you believe it? I'm in $30,000 again. I had the idea that I give you $100,000 on it goes, but if they give me a nice approach to that help me understand question, I know I can resolve that conflict, right? So that's another tip, little word.
Notes a couple days ago, John, and I had a call today that I asked that question on because I was like, I love it. And it's true, you know, when we had lunch a couple weeks ago there, we left there and we're like, man, we learn from you every time we're with you. Like every time we learn something and we take it and apply it. Like it's your stuff is just you're amazing, you know that. But anyways,
you're too good. You're too kind. So here's a couple other little things. And this kind of moves on to looking at their systems and their management. And I'll tell you right now, you guys it wasn't 10 pages, by the way. It was only 3 that I sent.
Yeah. Tiff and numbers.
Yes. So one of the things I love, and I'm a crazy organized guy. I love having things really well laid out and simple. If people understand a simple deal, they'll get into it, right? That's another thing. If you present to me in a simple way, Stefan Arnio always told us, if you can present your business plan in grade 3 English on a napkin, I'm going to buy it, right? Grade 3 English, not legal jargon. I hate legal jargon, but grade 3 English on a napkin, you'll buy it. You'll sell it. It'll be there because then you have a really solid plan of what your business plan is, and people will see the simplicity of it and love that, right? So a lot of the preparatory stuff, I don't need spreadsheets and stuff. I just want to know how you deal with properties. How do you analyze properties? How do you, I don't need to see your spreadsheets, but I need to know that you have some organization. I need to know that you have good systems and SOPs, standard operating procedures in place, that you have a degree of professionalism about how you treat this business of the one project that I'm going to do to you. And I want you to treat me and the business and that project as an individual business, right? That is another key thing too. So how well are you organized in management and reporting is really, really important.
I want you to treat me and this project as if it's a business of its own. That's awesome.
Yeah. 2 more. Will they do a great job of the communicating and the happenings, progresses, and challenges of the project? Okay. So how do I feel? Are they going to be, I guess this boils down to the honesty and the transparency of the person. I don't need to hear about how the toilet bowl got changed, but I certainly need to hear about the things that we discuss as partners that are important. And a lot of that lies on me. That person needs to know what is important for me to communicate, right? So if I feel something that's important to communicate and they're not doing that, well, maybe that's my problem because I didn't communicate to that in the first place. So getting those out, kind of the expectations, the goals, the project, are they written? Are they achievable? Are they well communicated in terms of the goals and the expectations of this? And then can you communicate that well with me is the key. And again, I think you can find this out in the first few sentences when you start to understand people and know who they are. Are they well put together? Do they feel confident in how they present? Is it professional? You pick up on that stuff quite easily, quickly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's all I've got for the people side. So hopefully that's helpful.
Point something out. We're 50 minutes in, guys. 50 minutes in, right? Shoot. But
That's
notice when John is now going to start talking about the deal. It has all been about the people for 50 minutes. We have 10 minutes left, and he says, now we're going to move on to talking about the deal.
90-10. There we go. That's exactly what we're talking about. The most important stuff is all about the people.
So when we say that people have to know you, like you, and trust you, it's because we know from experience that when we went in with deals and went in with spreadsheets and numbers and performance and graphs, we didn't get anywhere. When we went in letting people into our lives and who we are, that's when people started to decide whether or not they trusted us and wanted to work with us. So, yeah. Good stuff.
Have you ever been surprised by a partner, John? They ended up being different than what you originally
No. I would say I haven't. I think there's been some change in people over 10 years. And as they get older and people move to different stages of life, some of their expectations change. But I don't think I've ever been surprised. I've honestly had a really good run with it. I don't have any complaints. I've never, ever had a really problematic partner to deal with, but I spent a lot of time understanding how to look for them. I'm talking about the working partner for the money partner, but it's the same thing with the money partner. So really, I haven't. Again, it's all about due diligence, and that's the other thing I'll bring up, Marie, that will really help you with this is take your time. Right? I think we got a joint venture partner. Oh, I got somebody who's got $100,000. I got to get them. But they might be the worst partner you've ever had. Right? Don Campbell said in this, and I've heard many people say this, there's always another bus. There's always another bus to catch the next bus. There's all kinds of people who have all kinds of money that want to work with people who have reputation. And don't worry about it. If it doesn't work out, there's always another one coming. And I've learned that lesson in my lending business. You know, it's amazing how people are looking and desperate to find qualified people, qualified entrepreneurs to deal with. Really, there really is. And there's a shortage of them, because our education system doesn't teach that. They teach us to be employees, not to be entrepreneurs. This is all entrepreneurial type thinking for sure. Absolutely.
Percent of it, yeah. And it can apply in any business, really, any
Right.
sales.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be just real estate. And just on that note, we have to have you back to talk to you about what you are doing now, because the lending. So I mentioned at the beginning, like we lend. You now take care of some of our money for us. We plan to do more in the future with you. For as long as you're doing it, we're going to be following you.
Sure.
But there's lots out there that you can share with us in that realm, and as well opportunities that you have that for us anyways, we have no problem opening up our world to someone like you, because we know that you're going to take care of our people and their money. And so for us, it's it's just easy. But anyways, we have to have you back to talk about what you're doing now with your lending company. Maybe in a couple weeks here.
Yeah. It's a whole new world out there with that business, and it's exciting stuff. Let me tell you.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So you want to dig into the deal now? We'll talk a little bit about that. So just to review, we talked about the people, how we need to have trust and confidence in the people. It's exactly the same thing for the deal. You have to have an understanding and feeling of real trust and confidence in the deal. Okay. So what kind of questions do we have for that? So first and foremost, I go back to my grade 3 thinking, grade 3 language on a napkin. Do I, as the money partner, understand the deal? I'll never invest into something that I don't understand. So it's your job as the working capital to make sure that I understand it in very simple terms. I don't want to hear all the nitty-gritty details and what you're going to do to the property and the plans that you have and what's the budget for the renos in 5 years from now. I could care less about that. I got to understand what it is you're investing into, and do you understand it as the working partner? And if I don't get the impression that you understand it, then I certainly won't be investing with you, right? So it's simple, and is it easy to understand? That's a. Maybe you guys want to comment on that.
Well, I'm just clearly very passionate about it.
Simple. That's what we need to do. It's just a simple conversation. We talk about that all the time. Yeah. If you can't communicate something in a grade 3, as you've been
Warren
talking
Buffett
about,
always says grade 6, right? Or to a 6-year-old. Warren Buffett always says, if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old,
grade 1.
I'm not investing.
Yeah.
So practice it as many times as you need to until you could explain it to a 6-year-old, and then Warren Buffett's.
And here's the thing: when we don't need to be doing these super complicated deals either, we can just keep it simple ourselves and make sure that we understand it. And if we understand it, then we can explain it, and it can be simple for somebody else to.
Absolutely. Yeah. These are the same type of questions that I have with my lending business. I like to know that I have a high level of control, and does the person the working partner have a high level of control in the deal that they're working with? If it's a big conglomerate, there's so many things that he can't control. This is why I love simple deals. I like small, cookie cutter, boring, over and over and over again things. I remember Don Campbell told me when I first came to Rain, I asked him, Don, what should I do? And he said, what do you do? And I said, well, I really like single family houses. And he said, well, you should have 100 houses then. And he was right. He was right. I learned, I read Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett would love to have, he's the same thing. What's wrong with 200 single family homes? Debt free. They're awesome, right? They really are. Not that that's the one, but it's just over and over and over again. Do I have a high level of control in those deals? Absolutely, because there's not a lot that can go wrong with them, right? Yeah. Can I take over the deal if need be? So that's another thing that I look at. If I never invest with our lending business, I'll never invest into something that I can't take over, or I have a high level of control with, or I have experience with, or what's behind me? Can I get this deal done? If that person is done, and maybe something happens to them, that's one of the things. Maybe they're not in the face of the earth anymore. Can I look after that deal? And if I can't look after that deal or have a feel confidence that my team of people can help me do that, I probably wouldn't invest into that deal. Okay. So for me, it's like I would love to be involved in multifamily. I'd love to have a 3 or 4 40 unit buildings, but it's not my niche. I don't understand those deals. It's a big learning curve for me now. And I've learned, as much as I think I should be involved in multifamily, I've stayed away from it because the learning curves is so much, and I'm good at one thing. I get it, and I want to deal with people as a money partner who are good at one thing and do it really, 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 really well. Okay.
So when you're out looking for joint venture partners, guys, and you're looking for, remember that they're looking to see, are you a jack of all trades or are you a master?
Right.
So have you focused? Are you jumping around? For me, that's a big thing. And when I'm looking at what to invest in, if someone is, one time it's this and the next time it's that, and everything is the next new biggest thing, that's a major red flag for me. We talk about that in boot camp, how, if you want your credibility to stick for a money partner, there's certain things that you have to do. And one of those things is being that kind of slow, boring, timeless, same old. Speaking of boot camp, I should just throw in too, Friday, we'll be starting boot camp. Friday nights, Saturday all day. So 11 to 3 p.m. Eastern time. So if you want to learn how to find people like John in your life so that you can fund your properties and your flips and all that kind of stuff, within your own circle, so that, like John said, you're helping the people in your life to also gain that passive income.
Right.
And this weekend, we're doing boot camp.
That's great. That's good stuff. How much time do we have? Do we got till 8 o'clock? Because we got to run through this quick, or do we got to take a couple extra minutes, or no?
Take a couple extra. We're okay there.
Well, it's only 20%, so we can fly through this stuff. And these are just good questions, and we don't need to talk about it a lot. One of the things that I've learned as I got older and as I get more experience is 3 things you make money on. You make money on cash flow, you make money on equity pay down, and appreciation. Several different kinds of appreciation, unforced and forced appreciation. I've always used to think that mortgage pay down is the most important thing. Okay, we talk about the main course is the equity pay down, the appetizer is the cash flow, and the dessert is the appreciation. I think that's wrong thinking. Okay, I will never buy a property that doesn't have cash flow. Okay, so I think we got that mixed up. I think we need to be putting cash flow as the most important thing, because if you don't have cash flow, you don't have mortgage pay down.
Right.
Okay? Or you're going to be having to add a whole lot more money into that deal. Cash flow is king, and people say that for a reason, guys. They say that for a reason. Never, ever, ever work with a working partner that isn't 100% confident that they have really solid cash flow to begin with. I want my people that I work with to be seeking to become cash flow millionaires, not capital gain millionaires. Okay, cash flow means something. Talk about COVID. You talk about people losing their jobs. You talk about people being challenged with not wanting to work, the government printing money, they don't want to work. Cash flow and using your money as your employee, that's the most important thing. I could care less whether the mortgage gets paid down, but I care an awful lot about whether cash flow is there for us in the projects that we invest, right? So if I'm putting my money as my employee to go to work in your situation, I want money in my pocket. The definition of an asset, a cash flowing asset, is money in your pocket every single month. Number 1, cash flow. Number 2, mortgage appreciation. If you get the appreciation, it's great, but who cares? Who cares? We've been in Edmonton for 12 years and we've been in a slump. I have cash flowing projects. I could care less what the project is worth. I could care less what the price of the house is because it's delivering me cash flow every single day. If the market goes up, the cash flow is going to go up, right? Because as market goes up and prices of houses go up, the rentability of those is going to go up as well. Cash flow is really, really important.
And I love it, John, that you're saying this from as a guy that just sold out of a lot of his Toronto stuff, and you had a lot of stuff in the GTA, and you did very well on it. You can't complain about how you did there, but still, having seen both sides, you're still saying, be safe, be smart, be wise, go cash flow, and I love it.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, we had a conversation today with some investors that came to my house. I had a nice house visit today, first time in a long time. But they're frustrated because they can't find cash flow here in Ontario. Like the percentage of rent to the price of the house in Toronto it don't cash flow. It doesn't cash flow. That's what I love about Alberta, all you Albertans. You got it made in the shade. You've got these $450,000 suited houses that can get $3,000 and change for that property in rent. That percentage on the price of the house is such a higher percentage than what we can get here in Ontario. Talk about a buying opportunity. Oh my gosh, I just hope that not many people come because I want to buy a lot of houses out there.
You have.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're one a month right now, so we're on that wagon for sure. So, okay, let me keep going here. Is there the other question that's really important to me? Is there do I sense any opportunity or not opportunity, but negativity in terms of do I have to add more capital to that project down the road? I want to be sniffing that out. If there isn't a good buffering in their cash flow or on their bank account for having, I like to put $5,000 a door is my golden rule of thumb in the account that you never ever touch. So I have $10,000 per suited house. That's a buffer, right? So I don't ever want to I've never ever had to have anybody come run a cash call for any of my joint ventures, and I'm extremely proud of that because that's something that I've taken care of. And I make sure that I get that in when they're asking me for money, make sure I get that buffer from them as well, right off the hop. So I never, ever has to ask them again, right? Can the deal be repeated? Okay, so if this is a good deal, I'm coming to you again. Baby, You got a great deal. I'm all over you. I want another one, right? I want another one. I want one for my mother. I want one for my sister. I want one for my kids. We're going to do it again and again and again. So repeatability is there. How solid is the exit strategy for the deal? Are there clear timelines? Your expectations? Are my expectations going to be the same as my working partner, right? So if I make it clear that I want a 5-year out of this and I have a home to buy or I want to do something different with my money, is the exit strategy there, okay? And is it clean? And do they understand that I want a 5-year? Because there's nothing worse than a partner that comes to you and says, oh, we talked about 5 years. Oh, sorry, I can't do that for another 2 or 3 years to refinance. There goes your reputation out the window, right? So that's really important. Potential challenges or risks that are associated with the deal. I want to know, area. Why are we buying in the area? Good old fundamentals. Thank you, Don Campbell, of that area. Does it make sense? Jobs, GDP growth, all that nice progressive arrow that we've talked about for so many years. It still is good. I think that one of the things, and I'll leave you this, or two things. Number one is, would I offer this deal to the people that I deeply care about? Okay, so I'm coming to you and asking the working partner, I like this deal, but would I offer this to somebody that I deeply care about? I'm just as important as the person I care about, but I want to make sure it's as good as them as it is for me. So that's a good question mark. Would I give this project and let my mother have it, right? That's important. And most of all, and one of the things that I think we all have to listen to is our gut. Last thing I'll leave you with, both on the people and the deal, what is your gut telling you, right? And believe me, your gut is right the majority of the time. So don't ever deny what your gut's telling you. If you walk away from that deal and it just doesn't feel like it's right, run.
Yeah.
There you go.
John, absolute gold, absolute gold. You know what?
So
Our
much
entire audience really, really wants to thank you. We appreciate the advice you've given and the perspective you've given, because it's a little different perspective. It's from somebody that is a working partner, but somebody that also lends out millions of dollars. So this is you have a perspective from both sides, and
That's
so
true.
It's great to see what you look for, what's important to you.
Yeah.
I think we're to reiterate it all. you know, you're really interested in the people. The deal comes second. That's a really big point that I want to take from this, and I want people to hear. And follow your gut, and you know, create relationships. It's about having a relationship with the people that you're dealing with. Are you going to be able to go for have a cup of coffee with this person? Is this somebody you want to? You mentioned marriage how many times? It's like marriage. You're going to be stuck to this person for a long period of time. Is it someone you want to be? So, so many good points tonight, John. We wish we could do 2 hours of this.
We are. We're going to have you back in a couple of weeks. Yes, John, you in?
For sure. I'd be glad and honored and humbled to do that, for sure. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
So we'll be in touch. And so John, how do we find you, John? How do we
great stuff. So we've done a whole whack of change to our marketing in the summer. That's something we can get into. It's amazing transformation from our capital gains tranquility to our cash flow business, Glenroe Lending. So we have a brand spanking new website that my daughter's been involved with and our coach has been involved with, and it's www.glenroelending.ca. Go check that out. Glenroe spelled Glenroe. We're on Instagram at Glenroe Lending, Facebook, search out Glenroe Lending, and LinkedIn, I'm under John Heaney. So those are the 4 things that you can go check us out. Our website is a really great, all my blogs, all my videos, our whole story, the projects that we deal, it's all on the website. It's fabulous. It's just a library. So I'm really happy to share that with you. It's all yours for the take, and I'm really glad to help you guys out. And thanks, Corey and Tiffany, for having me tonight.
Amazing. Thank you for coming. We so appreciate it, and we look forward to having you here again.
Yeah. And the rest of you guys, don't forget, boot camp starts Friday. So we'll see Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, 2 hours, and then Saturday 11 to 3 Eastern time, and we'll get you rolling in your joint venture journey. So see you for boot camp.
And all of our Igniteds, we will see you over in the laser session in about 2 minutes. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.